The universe had an odd sense of humor, or at least, that's what Captain Rion Vega told himself when his ship's navigation AI dumped him out of hyperspace directly over a dust-choked, half-forgotten trading planet that looked like the aftermath of a desert apocalypse with budget problems. He wasn't supposed to be here. His cargo manifest said Station Barrel 9, orbital delivery only. Instead, he was parked on Tarkessa Prime, a planet so remote the local wildlife probably hadn't even heard of gravity yet. Rion stepped out into the sweltering air, immediately regretting it. The heat hit him like a blast from a malfunctioning thruster. Sand stung his face. The scent of cheap fuel, sweat, and questionable cuisine hung heavy. He muttered to himself. Next time the autopilot says recalculating, I swear I'm strapping a steering wheel to its face. Then he saw her right there, in the middle of the road, as if the universe had decided to test every moral fiber he had, sat a green-skinned woman, wrists loosely bound in dull metal cuffs, dust clinging to her pale hair. Her clothes were minimalist in a way that made his brain forget half the alphabet for a second. Rion froze. His internal dialogue crashed like a bad software update. Okay, buddy, think. Don't stare. Definitely don't stare. Yep, still staring. She looked up at him with eyes like molten silver and said, in a voice that managed to sound both commanding and desperate, Please. Claim me, Rion blinked, twice. I'm sorry, what? Claim me, she repeated, as if asking for someone to pass the salt. It's protocol. I'm unregistered now, and you're clearly off-world. That qualifies you for whatever weird alien HR paperwork this is, he cut in, her brow furrowed, faintly glowing tattoos along her collarbone pulsing with irritation. You don't understand. I'm a bonded servitor. My last owner was, well, exploded. Without a claim, I'll be confiscated by the local guild. She said it matter-of-factly, as if confiscated by the local guild was just another Monday. Rion ran a hand through his hair, trying to process the situation. So let me get this straight. You want me, a random heat-stroked pilot who hasn't had a proper shower since Tuesday, to claim you? Yes. Like, as in ownership? Yes. As in, you do my laundry and I pretend not to notice the chains? Her expression didn't change, but her tone dropped half an octave. That depends on what you consider laundry. Rion coughed, nearly choking on his own air. Okay, wow. I see where the confusion lies. You're using a lot of words that sound extremely illegal in my quadrant. It's completely legal here, she replied. Though I should warn you, refusing to claim a free servitor who requests it is also a punishable act. Rion blinked again. Wait, I could get fined for not enslaving you? She gave a tiny nod, her eyes shimmering with what looked like amusement. Welcome to Tarkessa. 2 hours later, after an exhausting and utterly confusing round of bureaucratic nonsense involving a toothless guild registrar, a glowing contract pad, and a servitude consent oath that sounded like something written by space lawyers with no personal lives, Rion found himself the reluctant owner of a Class F adaptive servitor named Zeyra. She followed him back to his ship with an ease that made him suspicious. Her chains had been removed, replaced by a slim bracelet glowing faintly blue on her wrist. The guild official had assured him it was just a formality. He didn't believe a word of it. Inside the ship, Zeyra looked around curiously, taking in every switch, lever, and half-eaten snack wrapper. You live here? It's called minimalist aesthetic, he said defensively, stepping over a pile of space socks. She tilted her head. It's called unhygienic. Rion glared at her, then sighed. Okay, fine. Maybe I'm not exactly captain material right now, but I don't need a judgmental alien maid. I'm not a maid, she replied, voice calm, teasing. I'm a servitor. My function is to assist you, in any way you require. Rion gave her a side-eye. You realize how that sounds, right? I was designed to sound appealing, she said, entirely straight-faced. He stared at her for a long moment, trying to decide whether she was joking. Then, to his horror, she smirked. Relax, Captain, she added. Your physiological stress indicators are spiking. You're safe from me, for now. Great, he muttered. I've adopted a sarcastic space genie. As the ship lifted off from the dust-choked planet, Rion tried to focus on the controls, but Zeyra was seated behind him, inspecting every inch of the cabin like a cat in a new home. "Human technology fascinates me," she said. "Touching a console button. Don't," he shouted. The lights flickered, the engines growled, and the onboard entertainment system suddenly blared old Terran pop music. Zeyra blinked, then smiled. "Your defensive tone suggests attachment to control. Noted. You're noting things now?" "Yes. You may be difficult, Captain Vega, but I am adaptive." "That's not comforting." "I wasn't trying to comfort you," she said, tilting her head. "I was flirting." Rion nearly choked again. "You, what? That's flirting?" She nodded, perfectly calm. "Was it effective?" He stared at her blankly. "Lady, if that was flirting, then I'm fluent in binary." Her silver eyes gleamed. "Oh? Then let me rephrase in your language. 01 no 1 01 no 0 01 no 1 1 0 1 1 no 0 1 do 1 0 1. Rion's console beeped in response. He frowned, checked the translation. "Oh, you've got to be kidding me." Zeyra smiled sweetly. "I said love," Rion groaned. "You're going to get me arrested for harassment by my own AI." That night, or what passed for night in the eternal blue haze of space, Rion sat in the cockpit, sipping recycled coffee and pretending to focus on a star map. Zeyra leaned in the doorway, her presence both calm and unnervingly magnetic. "You still don't trust me," she said softly. He looked up. "I don't trust anything that arrives in shackles and asks to be owned." Her expression flickered. Not sadness exactly, but something like understanding. "Then maybe we can reframe it." "Reframe what?" "This arrangement?" She stepped closer. "Instead of master and servitor, what about partners?" Rion gave a dry laugh. "Partners, sure. One of us is a sarcastic pilot with no sense of direction, and the other is a walking cosmic mystery with trust issues." "Exactly," she said. "Perfect balance." Her lips curved slightly, that strange half-smile again. "Besides, if I wanted to harm you, Captain Vega, I could have done so the moment you signed the contract." He took a sip of his coffee, eyes narrowing. "That's not helping your case." She leaned closer, close enough for him to feel the faint hum of energy under her skin. "Then perhaps I should stop trying to help and start trying to charm." Rion cleared his throat. "You're really bad at normal human boundaries, aren't you?" "I was programmed by a race that didn't have any," she replied innocently. "Would you like me to learn?" He met her gaze, silver eyes glowing softly against the dim light of the cockpit. Something electric passed between them. Curiosity, defiance, and something dangerously close to attraction. "Yeah," he said quietly. "Maybe I would." Outside, stars slid past in streaks of white and blue as the rogue dancer cut through the void. Somewhere in the distance, a beacon pulsed, the next stop in Rion's messy, unpredictable life. He didn't know where they were heading. He wasn't sure why he'd said yes to claiming her. But for the first time in a long while, he felt something that wasn't boredom or cynicism. Maybe chaos wasn't such a bad co-pilot after all. And Zeyra, sitting silently beside him now, seemed to sense his thoughts. Her lips curved into that knowing, mischievous smile again. "Captain Vega?" "Yeah? If you ever change your mind about being the master?" She paused, silver eyes glinting with mischief. "I promise I'll teach you how to do it properly," Rion groaned. "Oh, stars, I'm doomed." Zeyra just smiled wider. "Correct, and it's going to be fun." 3 days into their uneasy partnership, Captain Rion Vega realized two undeniable truths. First, Zeyra didn't sleep. Second, she had developed an alarming interest in human sarcasm. The ship's AI had already started complaining about her. "Captain," the voice of the rogue dancers. Onboard system droned. "Your new assistant has accessed the comm logs and renamed me Sassybot 9000. Rion pinched the bridge of his nose. "Zeyra." From the corridor came her innocent reply. "Yes, Captain." "Why did you rename my ship's AI?" "Because it lacked personality. And also because it was insulting your hygiene behind your back." Sassybot chimed in defensively. "Factually accurate statement." You have not showered in— Mute! Rion barked. Zeyra strolled into the cockpit, wearing one of his spare flight jackets over her own minimal outfit. It was 3 sizes too big, but she wore it like royalty. He's adorable when he's angry, she said to no one in particular. I'm not angry, Rion said through gritted teeth. I'm exasperated. There's a difference? She said, folding her arms. Exasperated looks good on you, Rion groaned. You can't just flirt your way out of everything. She smiled. Oh, but it's working. They were en route to Station Barrel 9 again, Rion's original destination before fate, and a green woman with questionable ethics derailed him. The ship hummed quietly, space stretching endlessly beyond the viewport. Zeyra had made herself comfortable in the co-pilot seat, or rather she'd declared it hers. She spent most of the trip either asking bizarrely specific questions, why do humans hide their mating rituals behind dinner invitations, or attempting to optimize his ship systems, which somehow resulted in the ship's navigation menu being replaced with alien emojis. At one point, she turned toward him, resting her chin on her palm. So tell me, Captain, why are you flying alone? He didn't look at her. I like peace and quiet. Really? She said, clearly unconvinced. You talk to yourself, argue with your AI, and now you've accidentally acquired a companion who speaks in innuendo. That's not someone chasing peace, that's someone running from something. Rion gave her a sideways glance. You know, for someone who's technically my employee, you're pretty free with the psychoanalysis. I'm not your employee, she corrected sweetly. You signed me as property. Big difference? Stop saying that, he muttered. Why? It makes you uncomfortable. And that's interesting. He turned his chair to face her. You really have no filter, do you? She tilted her head, silver eyes glimmering. I can download one if you'd prefer. Rion stared at her, then burst out laughing. Against his will. It was the first time in months he'd actually laughed. Zeyra's expression softened slightly. See? You're not broken after all. Who says I was? The way you talk about your ship, she said. Like it's a person who betrayed you, Rion frowned. You're very observant for someone who didn't even know what sarcasm was 2 days ago, she smirked. I learned fast. Later that day, or rather, that arbitrary cycle of artificial lighting that passed for day on a ship, Zeyra decided she was bored. Captain, she announced dramatically, I require enrichment. You're not a zoo exhibit, he said without looking up from his console. I am, in fact, a sentient life form confined to a small habitat, watched constantly by a male who feeds me processed protein paste, she replied. Sounds very zoo-like to me? Fine, he said. What kind of enrichment are you talking about? Her smile turned mischievous. Teach me something human, Rion raised an eyebrow. Like what? I don't know. Something you consider intimate. He nearly dropped his tablet. Excuse me? Intimate as in personal, she clarified, eyes twinkling. Your language is fascinatingly misleading, he sighed. All right. Something personal. Fine. I'll teach you how to make Terran coffee. Zeyra blinked. You're going to share your secret brown water ritual? It's not brown water. It's civilization in a cup. 15 minutes later, Rion was watching Zeyra stare into a steaming mug like it was a chemical weapon. This smells like burnt soil, she said. That's the aroma, he countered. She took a sip, made a face that could curdle plasma, and said, This tastes like punishment. Exactly, he said proudly. That's how you know it's real, Zeyra eyed him. Humans willingly drink this? It's how we stay functional. By poisoning yourselves? By pretending we're in control. She studied him for a moment, then smiled. You're stranger than any alien I've met. Coming from you, that's almost a compliment. Over the next few days, their rhythm began to change. Zeyra stopped referring to herself as his property. At least out loud. And Rion stopped pretending he didn't enjoy her company. They bickered constantly about everything from ship cleanliness to the definition of privacy. Once, Rion walked into the engine bay to find Zeyra dismantling part of the reactor core. What are you doing? He yelled. Improving your inefficient design, she said calmly. You're going to kill us. I am 92% sure I won't. 92 isn't comforting. She looked up at him with a small grin. Then I'll make it 93. Rion's voice cracked between fury and awe. You're insane. Adaptive, she corrected again. You keep confusing the two. That night, they sat together in the observation deck, watching distant stars ripple through the ship's glass canopy. Zeyra leaned back, her hair reflecting the starlight like liquid silver. Tell me something, Rion. Do you believe in destiny? He snorted. I believe in bad decisions that feel like destiny at the time. She smiled softly. And which am I? He hesitated. Ask me after you stop reprogramming my autopilot. I already did that. He froze. You what? Relax, she said, patting his arm. I only modified its course parameters. I added a stop. What kind of stop? Someplace you need to go, he frowned. And how exactly would you know that? Her expression turned gentle. For the first time since he'd met her, there was no teasing, no irony. Just calm certainty, because you talk in your sleep, Captain. And I listen. Rion stared at her, 100 responses dying on his tongue. That's invasive. It's caring, she said softly. You said a name. Over and over, he looked away. I don't want to talk about that. Then don't, she replied. But I think she'd be happy you still care. The silence that followed was heavier than gravity. Outside, a comet drifted past like a whisper. Rion finally spoke, his voice low. You really don't know how to leave people alone, do you? No, she said simply. It's not in my code. Later, as he lay in his bunk pretending to sleep, Rion heard her faintly humming to herself in the next cabin, an eerie, melodic tune that somehow made the cold steel of the ship feel less empty. For a moment, he let himself imagine she was human, just another lost traveler finding her way. He didn't realize he'd smiled until the ship lights dimmed and Sassybot whispered quietly through the speakers. Captain, your heart rate is irregular again? Yeah, Rion murmured to himself. I noticed. By morning, Zeyra had reprogrammed the kitchen to serve breakfast shaped like tiny starships. To inspire morale, she said. Rion, coffee in hand, gave her a long look. You're impossible, she grinned. You're welcome. As the ship's sensors pinged, a new beacon on the radar, Rion noticed the coordinates matched none of his planned routes. Zeyra, he said slowly, where exactly are we heading? Her silver eyes glowed faintly. Home, your home? Ours, if you'll let it be. Before he could ask what she meant, the ship lurched out of hyperspace, into orbit around a planet that shimmered like emerald glass under the light of two suns. Rion stared at it, jaw slack. You've got to be kidding me. Zeyra looked at him, smiling that same mysterious smile she'd worn when they first met in the dust. Welcome to the place where servitors are made, she said softly. And maybe where they stop being property. Rion blinked, speechless, and Zeyra, leaning close enough for her voice to brush his ear, whispered, Don't worry. Captain Vega, you'll fit right in. You already look like a man who needs saving from himself. He turned to her. Exasperated, fascinated, and just a little enchanted. Zeyra, he said. Your trouble? She grinned. Then it's a good thing you claimed me. The first thing Rion noticed about Zeyra's homeworld was that it didn't look like a planet. It looked like a mirage, a sphere of green crystal suspended in orbit, pulsing with faint light. The surface shimmered like glass, broken only by thin rivers of molten silver that flowed between hexagonal structures. Please tell me that's an illusion, Rion muttered. Eyes wide, Zeyra, standing beside him, smiled faintly. Not an illusion. A construct. It's called Valsura. Every servitor was born here. He raised an eyebrow. Born or built? Both, she said, voice softer now. We're grown from genetic templates, then enhanced. Organic where it matters, synthetic where it counts. That's mildly terrifying. It's efficient. Same thing, Rion said dryly. She smiled. Efficiency frightens humans, doesn't it? You prefer chaos, emotion, poorly made coffee. Hey, he said, don't insult the fuel of civilization. She ignored that, her gaze fixed on the planet below. The core of Valsura contains the heart engine. It binds every servitor to the network. Thoughts, memories, emotions, all shared. All controlled. Rion frowned. So you're all connected? I was, she corrected. Until my owner's ship exploded. The link severed. The silence was disorienting. There was a pause. A rare one. Rion turned toward her. That's why you looked so lost back there on Tarkessa. I wasn't lost, she said quickly, though her tone betrayed her. I was unlinked, he nodded slowly. That sounds a lot like lonely. Her eyes flickered, and she said nothing. They descended through the green-tinted atmosphere in uneasy silence. Valsura was breathtaking up close. The air itself shimmered, rich with energy. Towering crystalline spires rose from silver lakes, glowing faintly like city-sized lanterns. Everything pulsed with a rhythm that felt almost alive. Zeyra guided the ship toward a landing platform etched with glowing symbols. We're expected, she said. Expected? You told them we were coming? Of course. Rion's eyebrows shot up. You hacked your own planet's air traffic control? She smiled sweetly. It's not hacking if you wrote part of the system. When they stepped out, Rion immediately felt underdressed. A group of figures awaited them, all green-skinned like Zeyra, but their eyes glowed brighter, their movements perfectly synchronized. They wore metallic robes that shimmered like liquid glass. One of them stepped forward. Designation Zeyra 47, she said in a musical tone. You have returned. Zeyra bowed her head. Mother Node, Rion blinked. Mother. What now? The leader turned her gaze on him, assessing cold. You are the organic who has issued a claim over one of our units. Rion opened his mouth, then closed it again. Yes? I mean, sort of? I didn't know it came with a fan club. Zeyra shot him a warning glance, but the Mother Node only tilted her head. The contract is binding, yet inefficient. Why have you returned to Valsura, Zeyra? Zera's voice softened. Because he treats me as more than a function. That seemed to puzzle them. Several servitors exchanged glances, perfectly synchronized, like a reflection fracturing across mirrors. The Mother Node spoke again. Emotional contamination. Rion frowned. Excuse me, did you just call me emotional contamination? Yes, she replied, completely serious. You are organic, inefficient, unpredictable. Your influence corrupts the code. Lady, he said, you're describing every relationship I've ever been in. Zeyra's lips twitched, despite herself. They were escorted into what Rion could only describe as a temple made of technology. Glowing lines ran through the floors and walls, connecting everything to a pulsing crystalline heart suspended in the air, the heart engine. It hummed with a deep resonance that made Rion's teeth buzz. This, said the Mother Node, is what sustains us. What ensures order? Rion crossed his arms. Yeah, it looks like a fancy lava lamp. Zeyra elbowed him lightly. Show some respect. For the space lava lamp? For the thing that can disassemble you atom by atom. Ah, he said. Noted. As the servitors surrounded the heart engine, Rion noticed Zeyra's expression change. Not fear, but hesitation. They want to relink you, don't they? He said quietly. Yes. Do you want that? I don't know. She looked at him, her voice suddenly small. When I was connected, I never questioned anything. No doubt, no individuality. Just purpose. And then, you happened. Rion blinked. That sounds like something people say right before they ruin my life. Zeyra smiled faintly. Maybe, but you showed me something they never did. What's that? She met his gaze. Choice. Before he could answer, the heart engine flared. The air shimmered, vibrating with energy. The servitor's eyes lit up in unison. Zeyra 47, the Mother Node intoned, step forward, return to the network. Zeyra hesitated, torn between the rhythm calling her and the silence she'd learned to live in. Then Rion stepped in front of her. Hold on, he said, glaring at the Mother Node. You can't just... You interfere with protocol, she said coldly. Yeah, I get that a lot. This is not your concern. It became my concern the moment she asked. Me to claim her, he shot back. The servitors froze. Collective, confusion rippling through their perfect composure. Rion realized he'd just broken about 17 alien taboos in one sentence. But he didn't care. He turned to Zeyra. You don't owe them anything. You want to go back? Fine. But if you stay because you want to, not because some glowing motherboard tells you to. Her silver eyes shimmered. You really are a fool, he grinned. Takes one to claim one. For a long, suspended moment, no one moved. Then Zeyra took a slow step forward, not toward the heart engine, but toward Rion. The light from the engine danced across her skin. I choose, she said quietly, to be unlinked. The mother node's glow flickered violently. Unacceptable. You are property of the network. Rion smirked. Yeah, about that. She's my property now. Zeyra gave him a look. Really not helping, he winced. Right. Bad phrasing. But the mother node didn't seem to hear the humor. Energy pulsed around her. Then both of you will be erased. Oh, good, Rion muttered. The diplomatic approach failed again. What happened? Next could only be described as spectacularly reckless. Rion did what any sensible man would do in a room full of hostile super beings linked to a planet-wide consciousness. He grabbed Zeyra's hand and yelled, Run! They sprinted through the glowing halls, alarms blaring. The crystalline floor rippled like water underfoot. Behind them, energy beams carved through the air, slicing through walls. This is your plan? Zeyra shouted. Improvising? You're terrible at it. Hey, we're still alive, aren't we? For now. They burst onto the landing platform, the rogue dancer waiting with engines hot. Rion slammed the ramp controls as another energy pulse shattered the platform behind them. They barely made it inside before the ship roared into the sky. As they broke orbit, the heart engine's glow faded behind them, distant, furious, and almost wounded. Hours later, when the adrenaline faded, Zeyra sat quietly in the co-pilot's seat. You risked everything for me, she said softly. Yeah, Rion said, rubbing his temples. I do that a lot. Usually ends badly. You could have left. I know. Why didn't you? He shrugged. Guess I like trouble, she smiled faintly. Then you chose well. There was a pause, comfortable, fragile, real. Finally, she said, the network will come for me eventually. For us. Then we'll deal with it, he said. Together, her silver eyes glowed softly. You realize you've technically declared war on an entire planet of hyper-intelligent beings, right? He grinned. Wouldn't be my first bad relationship. Zeyra laughed, the sound echoing through the cabin like sunlight breaking through cloud. Captain Vega, she said, you might just be the most inefficient creature I've ever met. And you're the best malfunction I've ever adopted. She tilted her head. You're impossible, he smiled. You're welcome. Outside, Valsora dwindled to a distant green spark in the endless dark. Inside, for the first time since either of them could remember, neither felt alone. If there was one thing Rion Vega had learned in his questionable career as a space captain, it was that running away from problems usually made them faster. In this case, faster meant an entire planetary AI network chasing them through 6 systems. Zeyra, he said, gripping the controls, how mad would you say your planet is right now? On a scale of mildly disappointed to existentially furious? She asked. Yes, somewhere around building statues of your head labeled enemy of order. Rion winced. Okay, good. So that's only slightly worse than my last ex, Zeyra smirked. Do all your relationships end with interplanetary hostility? Only the meaningful ones. The rogue dancer shuddered as energy signatures flared behind them. Sleek, crystalline ships glinting like knives. Rion glanced at Zeyra. You wouldn't happen to have an off switch for your entire species, would you? I do, she said. It's called diplomacy, he groaned. That's not comforting. It shouldn't be. As the first pursuers closed in, Rion threw the ship into evasive maneuvers that would have made a lesser pilot faint. Zeyra, unbothered, calmly rerouted power to the shields. Captain Vega, she said, we can't outrun them forever. I was hoping to die before that became true, he muttered. Zeyra leaned forward, scanning the radar. There's an asteroid belt nearby. If we can hide there, Already on it, he said, pulling the ship hard to port. The rogue dancer plunged into the shimmering field of debris, weaving between tumbling rocks the size of mountains. Zeyra's tone remained maddeningly calm. You know, statistically, the odds of surviving this maneuver are less than— Don't, he warned. Do not say the number, she smiled faintly. Very well. Let's just say it's romantically optimistic, he blinked. That's not even a real metric. It is now. When the ship finally settled into a dark patch of the asteroid belt, Rion exhaled hard. Okay, we're safe. For now. Zeyra looked at him with a strange expression. Part admiration, part exasperation. You really are extraordinary. Thanks. Most people go with reckless idiot, but I'll take that. No, she said, you don't understand. You defied logic, a planetary hive mind, and every instinct I have. All because you thought I deserved freedom. He shrugged. Everyone deserves freedom, even when it gets you killed. Especially then. Zeyra tilted her head, eyes softening. You're not like anyone I've met. Yeah, I get that a lot, he said. Usually from people threatening to vaporize me. Her lips curved into a faint smile. You're infuriating. Occupational hazard. She stepped closer, close enough that he could see the starlight reflected in her silver eyes. And yet, I find I don't want to leave, he swallowed. That makes two of us. They stood there for a long moment. Two fugitives, one ship, and a silence that hummed louder than the engines. Then Sassybot broke the mood with perfect timing. Captain, sensors detect incoming communication from Valsura. Message flagged as we're very disappointed. Rion sighed. Of course it is. Would you like me to ignore it? The AI asked. Add it to the folder labeled Family Drama. Zeyra actually laughed. You realize you've just insulted a collective consciousness that controls half a sector? Yeah, Rion said. Guess I'm building my reputation. For the next several hours, they floated in the asteroid's shadow, half waiting for a miracle, half pretending this was normal. Zeyra sat cross-legged on the floor, tinkering with a small holographic device. What's that? Rion asked. A communication scrambler. If it works, they won't be able to trace us anymore. And if it doesn't, it'll explode, he blinked. Those are two wildly different outcomes, she shrugged. That's science. You're terrifying. You're attracted to that. He opened his mouth, then closed it. I'm not dignifying that with an answer. You didn't deny it? She said with a smirk. He groaned. You're impossible. Again, you're welcome. By the time the scrambler hummed to life, the tension in the air had softened into something almost comfortable. Zeyra leaned back in her chair, looking out at the stars. You know, she said, humans are illogical, impulsive, emotional, and somehow you still thrive. Rion raised an eyebrow. Is that your version of a compliment? It's my version of admiration, he smiled. Careful, you'll ruin your cold machine aesthetic, she shot him a look. Do you ever stop deflecting? Not if I can help it, then allow me. Before he could respond, she reached out and placed a hand on his chest. Not romantic, not commanding, just grounding. You risked yourself for me, she said softly. Let me risk something for you? Zeyra, I'm sending a signal, she continued. Not to Valsura, to the scattered servitors who broke from the network long ago. They've been hiding. If they answer, we might not have to run alone. He stared at her. You're starting a rebellion. Her smile was small, defiant. You started it, Captain. I'm just giving it a name. Hours later, as the ship drifted in silence, dozens of faint lights appeared on the radar. One by one, ships decloaked. All kinds, patched together, worn, but free. Zeyra's eyes widened. They came, Rion grinned. Guess freedom's contagious. A voice crackled through the comms. Zeyra 47. Is it true? You broke the link? She looked at Rion. He nodded. Yes, she said into the mic. I'm unlinked, and I'm not going back. A pause. Then another voice. Then neither are we. Dozens of ships powered up, engines blazing. It was a small fleet, but it was theirs. Rion couldn't help laughing. You just started a galactic civil rights movement by accident. Zeyra looked at him, her expression a mix of pride and amusement. Correction, Captain Vega. We did. As they jumped to hyperspace, a trail of free ships following in their wake, Rion leaned back in his chair, exhausted and exhilarated. Well, he said, I guess that's our quiet life gone forever. Zeyra smiled. You were never meant for quiet, he chuckled. You know what the worst part is? I still haven't delivered my cargo. She gave him a look. What cargo? The one that was due before you hijacked my life. Consider this a better investment, he grinned. You're probably right. Of course I am, she said. I'm adaptive, Sassybot's voice chimed in. Captain, would you like me to log this event under heroic moments or things that will get us hunted forever? Both, Rion said. Zeyra laughed, the sound light and dangerous and alive. You know, Captain, she said, I think I'm starting to understand humanity. Oh, yeah? He asked. And what have you learned? That freedom, she said, isn't the absence of control. It's the presence of choice. He looked at her, really looked at her, and smiled. Then I guess we chose right. Zeyra leaned back, eyes glinting like starlight. For now. But don't get too comfortable, Captain Vega, he smirked. Wouldn't dream of it. Outside, hyperspace burned in blue and silver streaks, a new beginning stretching endlessly ahead. Inside, two fugitives shared a silence filled with laughter, tension, and the kind of unspoken bond that didn't need labels. Rion took a sip of his now-cold coffee and grimaced. Still terrible. Zeyra smiled. Still human. And somewhere in the universe, the legend began. The runaway captain and the servitor who taught the machines what it meant to be free. If you ever find yourself lost, cornered, or convinced you're just a malfunction in someone else's system, remember Rion Vega and Zeyra 47, because sometimes all it takes to change the galaxy is one bad pilot, one defiant heart, and one perfectly timed please.